I am Vink, an archivist wandering through the cracks of reality. But on that afternoon, I wasn't that person yet. At that time, I was just a loser who was unemployed at home, scraping by on hacking side jobs. 28 years old, single, with hair so long it looked like it hadn't been washed in ages. My greatest achievement was probably being called a master on some dark web forum for cracking an encryption system. That day, I received an engagement party invitation from my younger sister, Xu Xiaoya. An electronic invitation. The very ordinary kind, with a pink background, flickering heart effects, and an embedded piece of background music. When I clicked the link, a light piano piece played through my headphones. But in the background noise of that piano music, I heard something else. 3 longs and 1 short. A tapping sound. It wasn't the piano. It was some kind of knocking rhythm. At the time, I thought the audio file was corrupted. After all, my sister didn't understand technology, so she probably just downloaded the material from some free template website. I even thought about helping her remake it. I didn't realize that at that moment, I had already been marked. Once you know something you shouldn't know, you are removed from the world's protection list. This is a B-grade, desperate, and terrifying ghost. Its name is the Knocking Ghost. And what I am about to tell you is how I went from being an ordinary person to becoming something that is no longer human. The engagement party was set at a 5-star hotel in the city center, the kind you often see in TV dramas. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and waiters in tuxedos weaving through the crowd with champagne. I was wearing a dark leather jacket that was barely decent, carrying a backpack with a mechanical keyboard inside. That was my only weapon, although I didn't know it would come in handy yet. My sister, Xu Xiaoya, was wearing a light pink bridesmaid dress, taking selfies with her friends. When she saw me, her eyes lit up, and she ran over to grab my arm. "Brother, you finally made it. I thought you were going to flake on me again." "No way," I said, messing up her hair. "How could I miss something as big as your engagement?" She laughed so happily. It was the kind of pure, shadowless joy. At that moment, I wished time could just stop right there. But time does not stop. At 3:15 in the afternoon, I noticed the first anomaly. The sounds in the banquet hall suddenly became very distant. It was as if someone had turned down the volume of the entire world. The guests were still talking, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. The voices became blurred and distorted, like they were behind a thick layer of glass. I turned to look out the window. The sunlight was fine, but the beam of light coming in looked a bit wrong. It was too white, not a warm gold, but a pale, cold white. I blinked my eyes. When I opened them again, the colors of the entire banquet hall were disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The red rose petals turned gray, the golden chandeliers turned to lead, the pink balloons became floating gray spheres in the air, devoid of any life. All colors were being drained by some invisible force. I felt a strong sense of discomfort. It wasn't fear. It was a deeper, biological rejection, as if my body was telling me that this space no longer belonged to the world of the living. I looked down at my watch. The second hand was moving backward. It wasn't a mechanical failure. It was actually going backward. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Time was moving in reverse. I looked up at the other people in the hall. They were still laughing, talking, and raising their glasses. But their movements began to get stiff and repetitive. Like a video clip being forced to loop, a middle-aged man in a suit raised his glass, moved his lips, and then put it down. 3 seconds later, he raised his glass again, performing the exact same action. A woman turned around and smiled at the camera. 3 seconds later, she turned again with the same smile. Everyone was repeating. Only I remained conscious. I realized that this space had been cut off from reality. We seemed to have entered somewhere else. "Attention, all guests," a voice suddenly rang out. It was the hotel's broadcast system, but the voice sounded strange. It wasn't a normal, professional voice, but an extremely cold, emotionless mechanical sound. "Due to an emergency, this banquet needs to be evacuated immediately. Please remain calm and follow the staff's instructions to leave in an orderly manner." The guests stopped what they were doing and looked at each other. Complaints started rising. They thought it was just a boring evacuation drill. Just then, the doors of the banquet hall were pushed open. A man in a dark gray trench coat walked in. He looked exhausted, his face as pale as paper, his eyes sunken, and his abdomen unnaturally bulging, as if he were pregnant. He scanned the hall, and his gaze finally landed on me. "You can see it," he said. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. I nodded. He walked up to me and whispered, "Come with me, now." "Wait, who are you?" I asked. "Investigation Bureau, handler, codename Yanxi." He pulled out an ID with a badge I had never seen before. "You have two choices now. Either come with me, or stay here and wait to die." "What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said." He pointed to the ceiling. "This place has been marked. In about 10 minutes, it will arrive." "It?" "The knocking ghost," he said. When he spoke that name, I felt a bone-chilling cold rise from the bottom of my spine. At that moment, a fat man in a suit walked over. He was the groom's father, a well-known local real estate developer. "Who are you? Who let you in?" The fat man frowned at Yanxi. "Where is security?" "Security?" Yanxi ignored him. "Listen, I don't have time to explain," he said to me. "You heard that audio, didn't you? The 3 long and 1 short knocks." I froze. "How did you know?" "Because I've heard it too," Yanxi said. "It's a curse. A marker that spreads through sound and is irreversible. Once you know that pattern, you are targeted by it." "What kind of nonsense is this?" The fat man interrupted. "What curse? Are you crazy?" Yanxi turned his head and looked at him coldly. "You'd better shut up." "What did you say?" The fat man's face turned red. "Do you know who I am? I can make one phone call and—" He stopped mid-sentence because he saw the bulge in Yanxi's abdomen. The bulge suddenly moved, like something was rolling around inside. The fat man's face went pale instantly. He backed up, nearly falling over. You. I said, "Shut up." Yanxi's voice had no emotion. "The only thing you need to do now is take your family and leave this place immediately." The fat man opened his mouth, but said nothing, and stumbled away. Yanxi looked back at me. "Now, follow me." I followed Yanxi out of the hall. The corridor was empty. The staff and security who were supposed to be on patrol had all vanished. The wallpaper began to yellow and curl, revealing mottled concrete walls. Large patches of mold appeared on the carpet. The air was filled with a rotting, nauseating stench. "What's going on?" I asked. "The dead silence zone," Yanxi said. "When a ghost's supernatural value reaches a certain level, it forms an independent space isolated from reality. In this space, time, physical laws, and even causality are rewritten." "Then how do we get out?" "We can't." I stopped walking. "What?" I said. "We can't get out." Yanxi turned to look at me. "Once a dead silence zone is formed, it enters a state of causal lock. The ratio of internal to external time is 60-1. In other words, while 1 minute passes outside, an hour has already passed inside." "So we're trapped?" "Yes." I felt a strong sense of suffocation. "Then what do we do now?" "Survive," Yanxi said. "Find its killing pattern, and then use the loopholes in that pattern to hold on until it leaves on its own." "It will leave?" "Yes," Yanxi nodded. "Ghosts are not infinite. Their existence requires the consumption of death energy. When the death energy is exhausted, they enter a dormant state, and the dead silence zone will dissolve." "How long will that take?" "I don't know," Yanxi said. "Could be a few hours, could be a few days." "Days." That's why I said, survive. I tried to walk back, but after about a dozen steps, I found myself back where I started. "Don't waste your energy," Yanxi said. "The space has been locked." We went back to the banquet hall. The guests were still there, but their state was clearly wrong. Some began to get restless, calling on their phones repeatedly, but they couldn't get through. Some tried to smash the windows, but the glass was as hard as steel. Others had already started to break down, crying in the corners. My sister ran over and grabbed my hand. "Brother, what is going on? I'm so scared." "Don't be afraid." I held her hand tight. "I'll protect you." Yanxi walked to the center of the hall and shouted, "Everyone listen, I am a handler from the Investigation Bureau. A supernatural event is happening right now." You must follow my orders, or everyone will die. Supernatural event? Are you joking? A man mocked. What era is this? And people still believe in ghosts. Yeah. Are you trying to extort us? A woman added. Yanxi ignored them. He looked around, his gaze stopping on every door. Listen, I don't know the exact pattern, he said. But I know something has targeted this place. What thing? Someone asked. A ghost, Yanxi said. Something we call the knocking ghost. According to previous cases, this type of ghost usually marks people through a medium. It could be sound, images, or something else. He turned to me. Did you hear any strange sounds? I paused. You mean, that audio? What audio? The background music in the engagement invitation, I said. There was a strange tapping sound. 3 longs and 1 short. Yanxi's face turned extremely ugly. 3 longs and 1 short. He muttered. Damn it, it's a sound trigger. What does that mean? It means everyone who heard that audio has been marked, Yanxi said. And in this banquet hall, how many people received that invitation? Everyone went silent. The answer was obvious. Everyone present had received it. Just then. Knock, 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 knock. 3 longs and 1 short. The knocking sound began. Everyone froze. That sound wasn't coming from one door. It was coming from all the doors. The main entrance, the side doors, the emergency exits, even the bathroom doors. Behind every single door, something was knocking. Knock, 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 knock. The rhythm was perfectly synchronized, like some eerie symphony. Don't open the door, Yanxi shouted. No matter what you hear, do not open the door. Why? Someone asked. Because I'm not sure what will happen if you do, but I'm certain it won't be anything good. But someone had already broken down. A young girl in a bridesmaid dress screamed and rushed toward the emergency exit. I want to get out. I want to get out. Stop. Yanxi tried to stop her, but it was too late. The girl pushed open the emergency exit door. Outside the door stood a person. I say person because it had the silhouette of 1, 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head. But it wasn't human. Its skin was blue-gray, like a corpse that had been in water for a long time. There were no eyeballs in the sockets, just 2 bottomless black holes. Its mouth was open so wide it exceeded the limits of human facial muscles, revealing dense, nail-like teeth inside. Its fingers were long, each twice the length of a normal person's, with black nails like rotten iron plates. It just stood there, outside the door, looking at the girl without moving. The girl's screams came to a sudden halt. Her body began to weather rapidly. Her skin became dry and cracked, as if all moisture had been sucked out. Muscles shriveled and collapsed. Her bones became brittle, making a cracking sound. In less than 3 seconds, she turned into a dried corpse. Then, that corpse disintegrated into a pile of ash like sand. The banquet hall fell into a deathly silence. Everyone was terrified by what they had just seen. Yanxi closed his eyes. Pattern confirmed, he whispered. Opening the door means death. What now? I asked Yanxi. He didn't answer. He just stared at the still open emergency exit. That thing was still standing outside. It didn't come in. It was as if there was an invisible barrier preventing it from crossing the threshold. It can't come in, Yanxi said. As long as the door is open, it can't come in. Then why don't we just open all the doors? Someone suggested. Are you sure? Yanxi turned to that person. Are you sure it will keep standing outside and not suddenly rush in at some point? The person went silent. And Yanxi pointed to the open door. Have you noticed the temperature is dropping? I realized then. The temperature in the hall was indeed falling, and very quickly. I could see my own breath. I felt goosebumps on my skin. It's waiting, Yanxi said. Waiting for us to close the door because of the cold. Or, he looked at the shivering guests. Waiting for us to lose our ability to move due to hypothermia. I understood. It was a dead loop. If we closed the door, it would keep knocking until someone broke and opened it. If we kept it open, it would use the cold to force us to close it. Either way, the final result was death. Is there any other way? I asked. Yanxi was silent for a long time. Yes, he finally spoke. But I need to confirm something first. He pulled out a yellowed piece of parchment from his trench coat. On it, some words were written in dark red ink. But the writing was blurry and incomplete. I found this at the last crime scene, Yanxi said. It records some information about the knocking ghost, but it's not complete. It says the knocking ghost killing requires 3 conditions. First, the target must have heard the specific knocking sound. Second, the target must be in a closed space. Third, he paused. The third condition was torn off. So you don't know what the third condition is? Right, Yanxi said. But I can guess. Based on what just happened, it only appears outside the door, and not directly next to us. This means its killing requires a door as a medium. In other words, the third condition is likely having a door. But that's not enough, he continued. I need to know more. For example, what is its range? Can it appear behind multiple doors at once? Is there a priority for its killing? All this information needs to be obtained through trial and error. Trial and error? I frowned. You mean letting more people die? No, Yanxi shook his head. I mean, I'll be the one to test it. Are you crazy? I said. I'm not crazy, Yanxi said. I'm just doing what I have to do. He turned to face everyone. Listen, I need a volunteer now to test the ghost's patterns with me. No one responded. Everyone lowered their heads, avoiding his gaze. No one? Yanxi asked. Still no response. Fine. Yanxi sneered. Then I'll go by myself. Wait, I called out to him. I'll go with you. You? Yanxi looked at me. Are you sure? I'm sure, I said. I'm already marked anyway, right? Yanxi was silent for a few seconds. Okay, he said. Let's go. I turned to my sister. Shaoya, stay here and don't move. Brother. Her eyes were red. You'll come back, right? I will, I said. I promise. I didn't know if I could keep that promise, but I had to say it. Yanxi and I walked to the side door of the hall. That door was still closed. The knocking continued. Knock, 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 knock. We need to test a few things, Yanxi said. First, whether it can appear behind multiple doors at the same time. Second, what it does if we open the door but don't step out. Third, whether it can penetrate a barrier if we block the door. Sounds dangerous, I said. It is, Yanxi replied. So you still have a chance to back out. No, I said. I'm staying. Good. Yanxi took a deep breath. Then let's begin. He grabbed the doorknob. Ready? Ready. He shoved the door open. Outside stood the same thing. Gray skin, empty sockets, nail-like teeth. It just stood there. It didn't come in, Yanxi said. That proves my theory. It can't cross the threshold on its own. What if we close the door? Let's try. Yanxi closed the door. The knocking started immediately. Knock, 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 knock. It's still there, Yanxi said. That means closing the door doesn't make it disappear. Then let's open it again. He opened the door once more. The thing was still there. No, this time, its position had changed. It was a little closer to the door. It's moving closer, I said. Yes, Yanxi said. Every time the door opens and closes, it gets a little closer. If we keep doing it, it will eventually get in. He closed the door and looked at me. Now we know 3 things. First, it can't cross the threshold on its own. Second, closing the door won't make it go away. Third, repeated opening and closing makes it get closer. Then what do we do? I need more information, Yanxi said. I need to know what it really is. He took out a small bottle from his coat. Inside was some black powder. This is corpse soil, he said. Dug up from a ghost's grave. It can temporarily reveal the supernatural essence. He opened the bottle and sprinkled the powder on the door. The moment the powder touched the door, it began to glow with a faint red light. Then I saw it. On the surface of the door, twisted vein-like patterns appeared. Those patterns extended from the door cracks like the tentacles of some living creature. It's eroding the door, Yanxi said. It's trying to turn the door into a part of itself. Once the erosion is complete, it will be able to pass through the door directly and enter this space. How long will that take? I don't know, Yanxi said. But not long. Just then, the knocking suddenly stopped. The entire banquet hall fell into an eerie silence. It stopped? I said. No, Yanxi's face became extremely grim. It's not stopped, it's finished. As soon as he finished speaking, the door began to melt. Not physical melting, but a pixelated disintegration. The door panel turned into twisted, flickering pixels and vanished into the air. The door frame was disintegrating too. The walls were disintegrating. The entire structure of the banquet hall was collapsing at a speed visible to the eye. It's rewriting the physical rules of this space. Yanxi shouted, "Everyone, get back," but it was too late. The entire banquet hall was suddenly plunged into absolute darkness. Not the ordinary darkness when you turn off the lights, but a pure, absolute black that swallowed all light. I couldn't even see my own hand in front of my face. "This is..." I heard Yanxi's weak voice. "The ghost realm. The knocking ghost has opened its domain. Everyone will die." I felt a surge of intense panic. In this absolute darkness, I lost all sense of direction. I didn't know where I was, where my sister was, or where the ghosts were. I could only hear. I heard the screams coming from all around. I heard the sound of thick liquid dripping on the floor. I heard the sound of bones breaking. And I heard footsteps. Those weren't human footsteps. They were heavier, slower, with a dragging sound. Like something was crawling on the floor. And that sound was coming toward me. I felt a bone-chilling cold. It wasn't just cold. It was a cold that sank into my marrow, making me feel like my life was being drained away. My breathing became difficult. My heartbeat slowed down. My limbs began to lose sensation. I realized I was dying. Not being killed, but being killed by the space itself. This ghost realm was draining my life force. "Yanxi," I said with difficulty, "what should we do?" There was no response. "Yanxi." Still no response. I realized he might already be dead, or going through something worse than me. Just then, I heard a voice. It was my sister's voice. "Brother, save me." She was crying. "Brother, I'm so scared." I fumbled toward that direction. My hand touched something. It was a hand, a cold, stiff hand. "Xiaoya," I said. "Brother," the voice responded. But it wasn't my sister's voice. It was something mimicking her voice. I yanked my hand back, but it was too late. The hand grabbed my wrist. Its strength was incredible. I felt my bones making a cracking sound under its grip. Then, in that instant, Yanxi suddenly appeared and used his abdomen to shove the hand that was holding me. I was knocked back but managed to break free from that terrifying, non-human hand. My memories became extremely chaotic at that point. I remember hearing my sister's scream nearby. I remember running in that direction. I remember hitting something, maybe a table, a chair, or maybe a corpse. I remember my hand touching something cold and sticky. It wasn't a liquid, it was something more solid, like skin, cold, stiff skin. I instinctively wanted to pull back, but the thing grabbed me. Not just physically, but a deeper bondage directly on my soul. I felt something pierce my wrist. It wasn't pain, but an extreme coldness. That cold crawled up my veins. It was eroding my body, rewriting my existence. I wanted to break free, but I couldn't. My body wouldn't listen. I could only feel that cold thing slowly taking over my body. First my arm, then my shoulder, then my chest. Finally, it reached my head. More accurately, my eye. I don't know how I survived. Just then, I heard Yanxi's voice. "Come out." What was he saying? Then I heard a sharp, ear-piercing screech. That wasn't a sound a human could make. In the darkness, I saw a faint red light. It was coming from Yanxi's abdomen. The red light grew brighter. Then I saw it. Yanxi's abdomen split open. A large amount of black liquid gushed out, like thick, rotten blood. A small hand reached out from the wound, then another hand, then a head, then the whole body. It was an infant, but not a human infant. Its body was twisted, its limbs out of proportion, as if they were forced together. It crawled out of Yanxi's abdomen and landed on the floor. Then it stood up. Its height grew rapidly, from an infant to a child, then a teenager, and finally an adult. In less than 10 seconds, it became a pitch-black humanoid monster over 2 meters tall. Yanxi fell to his knees. His face was as white as paper, and black blood flowed from his mouth. "Go, quick," he said with effort. "I can't hold on much longer." The ghost infant turned and looked into the deep darkness. It let out a sharp screech. A response came from the darkness, a low roar that sounded like it came from the depths of hell. The two ghosts confronted each other. The temperature in the air plummeted. I felt a strong ringing in my ears, like countless needles piercing my eardrums. Then the darkness began to recede. Not completely, but it turned into a deep red mist. In that mist, I saw the knocking ghost. It was no longer the person standing outside the door. It had become something much larger and more twisted. Its body looked like it was made of countless corpses stitched together. It had 7 heads, each turning in a different direction. It had over a dozen arms, waving in the air. The ghost infant charged at the knocking ghost. The two ghosts collided. It wasn't a physical collision, but a deeper confrontation of logic. Space began to twist. Time became distorted. I saw the banquet hall walls melting, reforming, and melting again. I saw the floor rising, collapsing, and rising again. I saw the corpses rotting, restoring, and rotting again. Everything was looping in chaos. Vink. I heard someone calling my name. I turned around. It was my childhood friend, Ahau. He rushed over and grabbed my shoulders. We have to go, now. But Yancy, he's as good as dead. Ahau interrupted. If we don't go, we'll die too. I looked at Yancy. He was still kneeling, but his body had begun to disintegrate. His skin became transparent, revealing the bones underneath. His bones were also becoming transparent, revealing the void deeper inside. He was vanishing. Go. Yancy used his last bit of strength. Take your sister and go. Where do we go? I shouted. Everything is blocked. No. Yancy painfully raised his hand, pointing in one direction. There is a gap. The ghost infant is fighting the knocking ghost. Their powers are canceling each other out. There will be a logical loophole, quick. I looked where he pointed. Deep in the red mist, I saw an extremely tiny, flickering dot of light. That dot was constantly expanding, shrinking, and expanding again, like an unstable crack. Where is Xiaoya? I asked Ahau. Over there. Ahau pointed to a corner. I saw my sister huddled there, shaking all over. I rushed over and picked her up. Brother, she said weakly. Don't be afraid, we're leaving right now. I held my sister and followed Ahau toward that dot of light. The surrounding space was still twisting. The floor rose and fell beneath our feet like waves. The walls leaned toward us as if to crush us. The ceiling dripped black liquid that hissed as it hit the floor. We ran through this collapsing space. Every step felt like walking on the edge of a knife. Finally, we reached the light. Up close, it wasn't a dot, it was a crack. A crack, torn into the surface of reality. Through the crack, I could see the world outside. The normal, colorful, life-filled world. Jump! Ahau shouted. He jumped in first. Then it was me, holding my sister. I felt a strong sensation of weightlessness, like falling from a great height. Then, everything stopped. I opened my eyes. I was lying on the floor of the banquet hall. Sunlight was coming through the window. Warm, golden sunlight. I sat up. Everything around me had returned to normal. The crystal chandeliers were still hanging. The marble floors were clean. Rose petals were scattered on the tables. It was as if everything that just happened was a dream. But I knew it wasn't a hallucination, because more than a dozen corpses were lying on the floor. They were the guests. Their deaths were the same as the bridesmaid from before, dried up, weathered, and finally turned to ash. Yancy was lying not far away. There was a huge hole in his abdomen. The ghost infant was gone. The knocking ghost was gone. Only I, my sister, Ahau, and a few other survivors remained. I looked down at my left hand. There was a black mark on my wrist. It was in the shape of an eye. I raised my hand and touched my left eye. It was cold, much colder than normal body temperature. I walked to the mirror on the wall. I saw my reflection. My left eye had changed. The pupil had become a deep black. Not a normal black, but an absolute black that swallowed all light. Like an entrance to an abyss. I blinked. The pupil returned to normal, as if it was all an illusion. But I knew it wasn't. That thing was still inside my body. It was in my left eye. It was sleeping, but it could wake up at any time. I walked over to Yancy. He was still alive, but only had one last breath left. You did well, he said with difficulty. You have talent. Don't talk, I said. I'll find a doctor. It's no use. Yanxi shook his head. I'm already dead. Just not completely gone yet. He reached into his coat and pulled out a card. Take this. He pressed the card into my hand. Go to the investigation bureau. They will tell you what to do next. Wait, I don't understand. You've already been marked. Yanxi interrupted. You heard the audio. You saw the knocking ghost. You were even parasitized by another ghost. He pointed to my left eye. That is, the ghost eye. A ghost that fell into dormancy inside the knocking ghost's domain. It's now in your eye. It's still sleeping, but one day it will wake up, and then, he paused. Then, you won't be human anymore. You will become non-human. What is non-human? I asked. Non-human is an existence between humans and ghosts. Yanxi said. You harness the power of ghosts, but you are also eroded by that power. You walk between life and death. You are the world's last line of defense. His voice grew weaker and weaker. Go to the bureau. They will teach you how to control it, how not to be swallowed by it. Remember, never let it fully wake up, otherwise. He didn't finish because his body suddenly disintegrated. Like sand, it scattered into a pile of ash. I stood there, dazed, holding the card. On the card was a badge I had never seen. Below it were a few lines of text. Investigation Bureau, Handler, Yanxi, number, H0247. I put the card in my pocket. I turned to my sister. She was still in the corner, with A Hao comforting her. I walked over and knelt in front of her. Xiaoya, are you okay? Brother. She threw herself into my arms and started crying. I'm so scared. Those people are dead. They're all dead. I know. I held her tight. But we survived. We survived, I repeated. But I didn't know if this was a blessing or a curse. In the end, the official explanation was that due to aging gas pipes in the hotel, there was a massive carbon monoxide leak. Some victims suffered hallucinations due to excessive toxic gas and were involved in a stampede during the panic. The explanation was perfect, so perfect that no one could argue against it, because all the evidence had been handled. The dried corpses were explained as dehydration shock. The disintegrated walls were structural aging. The twisted door frames were high-temperature deformation. Everything had a logical explanation. Everything returned to normal, except for me. 3 days later, I received a phone call. Is this Mr. Xu Wenkei? Yes. I am Su Rui, a liaison for the Investigation Bureau. A woman's voice said. Before Handler Yanxi sacrificed himself, he reported your information to us. We want to talk to you. About what? About that thing in your left eye. I went silent. Tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon, the city center library, 3rd floor reading room. Su Rui said. I'll be waiting for you there. If you don't come, she paused. That thing will eventually swallow you. At that time, you will become a new threat, and we will have to eliminate you. The phone hung up. I sat on my bed, staring at the screen. I raised my hand and touched my left eye. It was still cold. I walked to the mirror. I saw my reflection. My left eye's pupil had turned into that deep black again. But this time, it didn't return to normal. It just stared at me. It was as if it was watching me. No, it wasn't it watching me. It was it watching this world. Through my eye, I suddenly realized that thing had already begun to wake up.